It's that time of the year. I guess it's the third time of the year, right, Barry? The third opening day for Saratoga this year. But the real meet actually started today on July the 10th. That's when Barry and I are recording. And we have a really, really good deal for you. For someone who's going to be playing Saratoga throughout the meet, you can get a full package for the entire meet, past performances, with a massive discount. There's also a separate package, Barry, that gives you the PPs, the clocker reports, and the betting strategies, which has even more of a savings because you're getting more products there. So every day you could get past performances, everyday clocker reports, and then betting strategies available on each of the Saturdays. And if you bundle it all up, I think it's 150 for the one with the PPs. And then if you want the additional, it's like 250. I mean, that's just an incredible deal with massive savings.
Yeah, anybody that plays the races, regularly or even semi-regularly can take advantage of these savings and, have all this kind of information on hand is always a good thing. I mean, at least for me, you can't never have enough information.
So, Barry, you and I are going to talk about Saratoga for Saturday. We're going to look at the late pick 5 sequence for July the 12th. Race 8 is the grade 2 Bowling Green. Couple graded stakes races in the sequence. A nice grade 1 Diana, where we'll actually get a chance to see She Feels Pretty, who's one of the better horses in training right now. Barry, just as we flip on over, how was your trip over to Horseshoe, Indiana? You were over for the Indiana Derby last weekend.
Oh, it was a fantastic time. Got out there on the 4th of July. I flew in. We went to the track and the Indiana Derby on Saturday, but it's a great place. I had never been there before. It kind of reminds me of Tampa a little bit as far as size and kind of local sort of feel. It doesn't have like the big giant, racing factory kind of feel. It's really hometown kind of feel, and
Personal.
yeah, it was really great. The staff there was excellent. The racing was great. So, I would definitely highly recommend going out there if you're in, Louisville, if you go to Churchill or some other track, but get out there. It's a great place.
Well, we're going to talk some Saratoga, see if we can make some money for you all this weekend on Saturday. I think there's like a drone flying right above my house. I don't know if you could hear it. It was like buzzing around. I was like, literally, as we start recording, it's like a magnet. As soon as you click the record button, it's like lawnmowers, weed whackers, drones flying around. Like, people are like fighting on the street and just screaming, and you just hear them. It's like, yep, that's a little bit of Long Beach. You know what that's like down in Florida, right?
Oh,
You
absolutely.
get all the characters out there, and I do the same over here out in Long Beach. Barry, let's start with the grade 2 Bowling Green. This one's a 1.3 miles on the inner turf. A couple horses in here that'll be major players. I think towards the outside, when you're in races like this, going these longer distances, and you see Far Bridge, he's always going to be a major player. He didn't win the Manhattan. He was a close third, but he was sitting in a really good spot. He just is better going longer because he doesn't really have that fast finish. He's kind of more of a grinder. And I think at these longer distances, it helps him. Wasn't a bad effort either in that third place finish. Nobody was able to get to Deterministic, who slowed them all down. Integration got caught just a little farther back, a little bit on the shuffle, and then running late. So I think we can start with Far Bridge, but also in that very same race was Corruption. And he didn't really get the trip that he's been getting recently, Barry, when he's been right on the lead or really close to the lead in 3 straight races where he's run very well. I wouldn't be shocked to see them try to get more aggressive with him in here going longer now, where he can probably get to the lead against this group.
Yeah, this is a really interesting race because all these horses are fairly evenly matched. Even though Farbridge has some class, I think that horse is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place with the trip that this horse is going to get, because Farbridge isn't as effective on the lead and probably can't get it in this race, isn't quicker than Corruption. So I don't even know if this horse will get a nice trip behind that horse. It's really tough. They're going to be kind of hung out wide. Everybody's going to want kind of the trip that Farbridge will want to get. So either they got to go all the way back or try to fight sort of for position early. And I don't think that's going to be very good for this horse in this spot. I mean, obviously this horse could just be better than these horses and and kind of run off. But I don't think so. I think this is a lot more evenly matched than it appears on paper.
Who are some of the others on your radar here?
Corruption, definitely. I think that horse might be a loose leader.
Yep.
Uh, there's really not much else as far as speed goes.
Yeah, I agree. I like him a lot too. I put him on top just because it's funny with Javier, he feels like the type of rider too, where with a horse like this, I think he's figured him out now that he's just got to be on the lead with the outside draw, gives them some options. I think he's going to be a little bit better value too than Farbridge, who's just going to get bet, right? We know he's going to get bet.
Yeah, absolutely. And not discounting the last time Corruption ran up at Saratoga during the Belmont Stakes Festival there. Got off slow. I know it was a semi-small field, but really didn't have a shot. So
right away, he was in a tight spot too, Barry. He's in between horses. He had to kind of back out to the fifth going into the first turn. So for a horse like that, who is 18-1 against a tough group, he needs everything to go right for him and him to get the right type of trip to beat a group like that. So your first furlong, already you're just completely up against it, right? So I think you can kind of eliminate that. He didn't really run poorly to finish fourth in that race, to be honest, after things just weren't really going his way early on. So who are some of the others we want to use?
The 2, El Razine.
Absolutely.
Really interesting in this spot. Ran great in the Jockey Club Derby Invitational in October. And that race alone puts this horse in contention here. I think the longer the better. I think that race at Keeneland back in April was just a mite too short, but sets this horse up to run
just
good.
a sharpener. Get him ready for this race because he hadn't run since October. So for horses like this too, that is one of the tricky things when you know he's better going longer, but you still got to get some fitness in him, right? Because it's not easy just to have a horse go longer and be completely fit. They're still probably going to be a little bit tired, even though it's their best trip. So then he was able to at least get the race in April, get a little foundation there. And now, I mean, when you look at the company he was facing last year, the same thing. He's right behind Deterministic, who we talked about with these other horses. And we know he likes the trip going a little bit longer. 1 3/8, 1.5 miles are no problem for him. El Razine, completely agree. He's in the mix. I thought the horse who I'm kind of confused to do with is like the 4, because I know this horse has ability, right? And last time in the Manhattan, maybe didn't like the in too tough, maybe didn't like the good turf course there, a couple things, but they put him again in a graded stakes spot, and he has the type of running style where he could probably be sitting maybe second or third in here, maybe not too far behind Corruption. And if there's not that much other early speed with Saez aboard, you and I talk a lot of times about how Irad Ortiz is going to be on anybody's list of best riders out there, but speed might not necessarily be his strength or one of the things that he does best as a rider, even though he's fantastic. When you think of Luis Saez, he's very good at getting horses out front, getting them to slow down, aggressive. I mean, we see Zayas was able to kind of do that when he got him to win a couple starts back too on the synthetic. I wonder, if this horse at an interesting price could hit the board.
I'm not really sure this horse is that reliable.
I don't know either.
It feels like the connections and the trainer and everybody is putting this horse in this race because they paid a pretty penny for this horse, and they think that this horse should be running in this spot. Hasn't proven to be this good yet at all. 15-1 seems fair, but this horse is going to get bet a little bit just because of the connections, Windstar Farm, Pletcher, which is good for me because I don't think this horse wants any part of the lead. And that was the only concern, is this horse kind of getting out there and getting brave on the lead. But I still don't think that horse is anywhere near as fast as Corruption.
He does probably, at the least, help the other Pletcher, El Razine, if he goes out front and can put some pressure on Corruption.
And that furthers my point about Farbridge being in a rock and a hard place situation.
Kind of tricky.
If the pace heats up, people are going to swoop by Farbridge late, and it's not an ideal trip for him. He's just stuck. It's just a horrible, kind of situation, unfortunately.
A couple others just to mention a little. I mean, about a year ago, Connie Port would have been solid in a spot like this, but he just doesn't win a whole lot. And now he's had a couple, like his last 3 races in a row are all really poor, really disappointing, just not really firing at all. But Pratt jumps back aboard. Second start after a little bit of a break, getting back to the grass. He's just 0 for his last 11, though. I want to see him string some races together. I'll mention 1 or 2 others, Barry, and you can kind of pick on any of them that you like. The 6 Hero. This was a really nice job by Safi, who just does things like this. Claims this horse for $16,000. This was a horse who he's taken out of the country to Barbados. He won that Barbados Gold Cup and was a pretty solid second in the Cape Henlopen, and Starting Over was also in there. Those were the 2 horses I was going to mention as at least like price horses underneath. You and I have played Starting Over a few times and hit him once or twice. He's now 8, but he is kind of trending in the right direction. Third start back of the form cycle. 1 or 6, either of them as like price horses. Would you give them a nod in any way?
I'd say probably Starting Over more than anybody else because of the fact that the trip is going to be the right.
Yeah.
This horse can get good position. Probably will be a little bit in front of El Razine, and should get a good trip. I don't know if this horse is actually good enough to win. I guess in certain scenarios this horse could win, but I really think this is a horse that 3rd or 4th is probably the ceiling.
A nice price maybe for some of the unders. There's a look at the Grade 2 Bowling Green. Barry and I both started with the outside runner Corruption, hoping that he is put on the front end and they can try to slow things down out there. Others, Barry then next went to the 2 El Razine, who I agree with. I think El Razine's going to run a big race. Probably give the 7 Farbridge a little more of a shot than Barry, but from a price standpoint, gambling standpoint, at horse is going to be even money. I don't want to single this horse in any way, shape, or form and pick 5s. I'm absolutely using a couple other prices. And if you're, using a few others and maybe you want to try to beat this horse, I wouldn't talk you off that. Farbridge will be a very short price. We'll see what price Corruption is, trying to maybe steal this on the front end from the outside. Let's move to race number 9, Barry. We have a first level allowance, 1 1/8 on the turf course. These are 3-year-olds and up. Some of the players in this race, and why I thought this race was really tricky, because you just have so many layoff horses. Like Taraj, who hasn't run in over a year and now comes into the Bill Mott barn for the first time. Certainly the races like the Derby trial and the races prior to the Hampton Court were good. And the Hampton Court race is at the Royal Ascot meet, facing really tough company. You go to the 1 who is going to be favored, Move to Gold for Chad Brown, has also been off for over a year. We haven't seen this one since the Manila. The second part of the entry, Debt Limit, is won back-to-back races against a little softer company, though. This is tougher, and Debt Limit will have the outside draw as well. So for the horses that are going to be an entry, that are going to be short prices, they're no cinch, either one of them, with the long layoff, the outside draw, class questions to ask about them. Common Defense is a horse that I think people might look to, trying turf for the first time, but this one hasn't raced since March of 2024. So, you're going through horses that are going to be major players, and they have not run in a while. That's, I think, what opens this race up a little bit. Who are some of the horses you want to start with, Barry?
Yeah, there's 2 horses that I zeroed in on. Taraj was the first one. This is kind of what Bill Mott does. The horse's first time in his barn. Also, the horse is training pretty well coming into this. Nice, steady works. Didn't do anything wrong overseas.
No.
Just a little bit of a, this is a nice spot for this.
There's no monsters in this group.
None.
So this is a horse that I think in a pick 4 or 5 situations, I have to use just in case, because there is that built-in variable that he might just be better than this group.
That's what I was just about to say. He might lay over this field and run away. I mean, he's going to be fresh. His coming out of that Ascot race, even though it was last June, is a huge step down.
Oh, yeah.
And it's probably going to show. So that's the horse that I would really start with. The other one is Gilded Kraken.
Nice.
I think this horse has, a really big pace advantage. There's really no speed in this race. Somebody would really have to get brave to challenge this horse on the lead. And honestly, it might be Gilded Kraken's race to win or lose.
So this horse was on June the 1st. It was the first start since January. So probably a race that he needed. He was on the 3 path going into the turn. He sat a length off. He made a move up the challenge at the top of the lane, right up on even terms with the leader, tired the last furlong. Looked like a horse who probably needed the race coming off of that 5-month break. Horse that won the race, multitask, comes right back out of it to win the next start. Multitask earned an 84 Beyer speed figure over at Ellis Park. So showed that race was a solid race coming right back out of it to win. So, I think looking at Gilded Kraken, who's run 2 nice races at Saratoga, finishing second both times, like they were kind of pointing for this race. Second start back, caught a really nice field to not have a bunch of other speed in here. And we know we can get the mile in an eighth because we've seen him win on the dirt going longer, mile and 3/16. So the distance should be no problem. I think he checks a lot of boxes, Barry.
Absolutely. He's going to be tough. Jose Ortiz
There's nobody that's that quick
right,
here.
and Jose Ortiz really can't make a wrong move at this point. So I would definitely have that one on my radar. And move to gold. As much as I would not want to play horse like that, you got to consider it because Chad Brown does this quite a bit as well.
And the race isn't that strong, right?
No.
It's like you can make little cases for and against many horses in here, but there just aren't monsters that scare you. That's why the 2 layoff horses, they're tricky to read. I don't want to take too short of a price on them, but they certainly can win this race.
Absolutely. And being hung out wide is also a problem. So I would gather Taraj is actually going to be favored with the entry, probably second choice, really close second choice. They're going to be close to the betting. But there's no monsters, but they're all, like you said, coming off layoffs, doing weird things. And this is an interesting race. So honestly, as much as I think Taraj can win, it wouldn't surprise me if some bomb comes in like a Ramblin' Wreck, in some fluke kind of thing.
Horse who maybe
happens
just
quite a bit at Saratoga too.
A little form. Barry and I are hoping that the price is actually the 5 who can maybe dictate things up front, because you go through the rest of this field horse by horse. There's just nobody that's naturally that quick. So if somebody goes, they're probably going to be taking themselves out of their normal game, what works best. I'm going to throw the 9 in as well. I just have liked this horse, and he's kind of one of those horses that's like his own worst enemy. He gets a little bit off slow, and then I think he's like one of those horses that's a bit hard to ride because he's not necessarily, you can just kind of move him and place him in spots. I think he takes a little bit, but there's ability there with him. So I'm going to use him in some pick 4s and 5s in a race where we're talking about not necessarily loving anyone, but I do agree with you. 3 and 1 both make a lot of sense. You get the 2 for 1 with the entry, but 5 absolutely in the mix for me, Gilded Kraken. And I'm throwing in then the number 9 here, who comes off that 3rd place finish at Keeneland back in April. Tricky little first level allowance that's going to go as race number 9. It's the second leg of the pick 5, and this one starts the late pick 4 on Saturday. Let's move, Barry, back to the dirt. We're going to go 7 furlongs here for an optional $100,000 claimer. This race doesn't really have any monsters either. It's just another good spot for General Partner, who I don't think you and I have really loved in some of his spots. He's gotten bet. In his last 4 races, he's gotten hammered at the windows. He's won a couple of them, but he's disappointed in a couple of them. So obviously, if he were to show up with one of his better efforts, it's good, and it's good enough to win. Scotland's coming off of a layoff. He's certainly talented, but he hasn't raced so far this year. He hasn't raced since the very beginning of December. Illuminaire is a horse who has flashed some talent, but hasn't raced this year, coming off of a layoff. Running Son of a Gun is a 6-year-old. He has races that are good enough. Even 2 starts back in the toboggan, that wasn't a bad effort from him. Those horses will take a good amount of money in here. I feel like those are probably some of the major players, especially the 4 and the 5. I think from a wagering standpoint, will take a lot of support.
Yeah, from a pace scenario perspective, it seems like this race is going to heat up front. So it's about positioning and lining up where you think you're going to get the best run. I think a horse like Scotland, even though this horse is probably going to get a bet, would most likely have the versatility to be kind of wherever they want.
He's been pretty consistent overall. I mean, if you eliminate the 2-back race in October, he generally fires. And this was a horse who we thought was grade 1 kind of caliber. Going into the Travers and the Pennsylvania Derby, he's only 7-1 and 9-2 in those races.
Yeah, he was on the rise, but I've noticed that he's taken on a different dimension of being able to sit.
Yep.
Hopefully Junior won't try to rely on that, but in this race, it's going to go a long way because there's going to be a line up front. It seems, you got Little Knee, General Partner, even 24 Mamba might be able to get involved. And I'm not sure about that one. That one's actually on my radar, but Concrete Glory is definitely going to have to go. And even the 11 might have to get forwardly placed. So they're going to be pushing that pace up front. And Scotland falls into a great trip if that definitely happens.
A couple horses that I want to mention. Got it. Kobe, 24 Mamba here. So his form prior to the June 13th race is pretty solid. And I like the fact that he was sitting the kinds of trip that we might be talking about too, where he can be just behind the leaders. I love that race on May the 8th. I think that would fit pretty well. He showed speed on April the 5th, but he can sit off, and I'm going to throw him in because I'm hoping he gets that kind of trip. He stumbled last time, and he just never really had a shot in that race, and Baby Yoda ran really well there. So I think if you eliminate that race and you're playing him off some of the form prior to that, I think he fits. And I might even throw in on some tickets the crazy horse way to the outside that you hit, Uncle Charlie's Gift, who's just in good form right now. He's proven at Saratoga, and he can sit close. He can drop back a little bit. Certainly could get hooked wide, absolutely. But he's going to be a very big price. And there are some horses that are better than him in here and that are a little bit more proven, but I don't feel like he's that far behind horses like General Partner coming off of those nice races over at Gulfstream Park where he's faced softer company. This is definitely a step up, but he's in good form. And Nick Zito, he's chatting with our buddy Matt DeSantis sometimes, right? They have that podcast. I think that
absolutely.
That yeah,
Nick was a real good friend to Chuck Simon, and in 2022. All three of us kind of sat down and were talking at Saratoga. I mean, it was like a dream come true for me, but I was just sitting there listening. Wasn't really talking much, but he's got a lot of knowledge, and he's still a good horseman. I'm glad he's starting to get some good horses in his barn.
Uncle Charlie's Gift is going to be in a pick 4 or pick 5 for me. The 4 and 5 are the horses to beat. Barry and I spoke about both of them. Barry mentioned in Scotland is one who could get a really nice trip. The 24 Mamba, definitely going to be in the mix for me. I think you just put a line through that June 13th race, and the form recently has been solid, so we'll give him a shot to sit a nice trip. Anyone else in here you want to mention that we have not hit on? I don't know what to do with the Luminaire. I think his wins now, maybe looking back, like they're at Saratoga, they're solid, but he got the bigger speed figure last year. I still don't feel like he's really progressed. And even based on the handling of him, right? They never really put him in a lot of these ambitious spots for Pletcher. So I wonder how high they were. Maybe they thought he still needed to develop more. I don't know what to do with him, Barry.
Yeah, it's odd, his race schedule and how he ran. Like, he came out in June of last year, showed up in July with 2 wins, then show up in a stake, which is probably normal.
Favored in there.
And then drops in the optional clamor 62,000, which is also normal. Then gets thumped, and then we don't see him forever. And it's like, how come this horse, as a 4-year-old, lightly raced 4-year-old, hasn't got a start until July?
Yeah. Feel like it's a tough, probably will need a race at least just to give his best, right?
But
Even though the barn is capable and we know they can get him off the bench. But in this spot, competitive with this horse, he'll probably need a race.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. But I'm with you on 24 Mamba. I think this horse can kind of rate a little bit, and that's probably the best trip for this horse. Even though it got those huge numbers being really close to the lead, I think those were softer fields,
Yeah.
minus maybe a horse or two. But the whole entire field wasn't as strong. And I think the last race, the horse just didn't get out of the gate, and Baby Yoda ran a hole in the wind. So they really didn't have a shot there.
He likes 7 furlongs, one of the better horses at the trip in the field here. The 9 was a horse that was like a crazy long shot that had some ability back in the day too. Like, how great is Nate? The 2 back race at Gulfstream isn't even that bad behind Implementation and Inveigled. I'm not exactly sure what to think of him, but he's got some races. I mean, 2 years ago, he's in the Haskell after winning that Long Branch and finishing third in the Pegasus. Just haven't seen him win in quite some time, but I would not dismiss him as like a third, fourth horse. If you're looking for big prices in the bottom of tries. Barry, anything else to finish up with in this 10th race?
No, I think we covered it.
Yep. Let's move to the Grade 1 Diana. I think if you're making a short list of the best horses in training in North America, she feels pretty. You're probably not going farther than like 3 or 4 before you get to her. She's just awesome. She's won 4 in a row. And as she's gotten older, she's just gotten more mature. She puts herself in a nice spot. She always seems to be traveling well. Even on turf courses that she doesn't love, she still wins, like the one at Saratoga last time out, which was one of her better speed figures. And you could tell she didn't really love it, but she just sort of wins on class. Respect her a bunch. This is probably a bit tougher of a group just overall than what she's faced, even though it's only a field of 6. I would say that between, the 2, Schwazia, the 4, Excellent Truth, the 5, and the 6, like those are all serious contenders for her. And just based on speed figures, you can see she doesn't, like stand over this field. A couple of the others have had 100 buyer speed figures as well. And while Be Your Best has a 98, I think for her top, she's really well spotted in that there's not much other early speed in here, Barry. This is another good Safi spot.
Yeah, man. You know how I love my girl Be Your Best.
You hit her. Yep.
I mean, I hit her the last 2 times she's won pretty good. And I think this is another great setup. I just don't know how you get these setups like this.
Yeah.
But
it's like he finds them, right? He just finds these races like with Skippy Longstocking. We talked about him a lot. That's, for being able to claim a horse and step him up. We saw that earlier when we were talking about Safi. But a lot of it is things like this. He puts horses in good spots or he has them running and all of a sudden like, wow, there's not very much early speed in this race. And you could absolutely see this being a race where maybe the target is She Feels Pretty, right? Maybe like some of the others are looking at her and trying to move with her when she moves. And that's the situation where a speed horse can get a little sneaky and get a little loose up front.
Yeah, and that's what I'm expecting full on from Be Your Best. Ira has just got to step on the gas, get in front, control his pace, and slow it down enough to hold off She Feels Pretty and the 4, Excellent Truth, who honestly I think is the best horse in this race.
She's really nice.
Nothing against She Feels Pretty at all because she's excellent in her own right. I just felt like those races that she was winning, especially during the streak, weren't all that strong.
Yeah, she didn't beat the most incredible company. And this group is tougher. There are 3 or 4 foes in here, probably a little tougher right now at this time than what she's been facing in her last couple. Now, Excellent Truth should have won the Jenny Wiley. Yes. That was the day that I hit. And remember, I was texting you because I bet Schwazia and I needed the 2 to stay up. And it looked like the 2 came over a little bit on the 4. And Excellent Truth ends up running second in the Jenny Wiley. So for the times that I complain, I do remember this one that I got a little bit lucky. So Excellent Truth, I thought in the Just a Game was like a cinch. And you could tell throughout most of the race she
Kind of wide.
wasn't going to win. And it's funny, she still ran and finished pretty well to finish second. So she's the 8. We can watch her. And Dynamic Pricing is the 1 who just beats her on the square, I will say. And you like Dynamic Pricing a little bit this day too. You thought
Yes,
she
I
was
did.
going to run really well, and she did. So we're looking at the 1 and the 8 in here. So the 8, okay, right here, tries to move down to the inside. I think going into the turn has a little bit of traffic trouble, like right around here, but kind of takes up. And then,
Gets
yeah, I
to
think
the
right there,
outside.
like she loses a little bit of ground, and then she's getting to the outside. So we're looking at the 1 and the 8. Obviously, the 1 is just saving more ground, whereas the 8 had to take up and was a little bit wider. The one, Dynamic Pricing was just really good this day. You know, I get the sense that Excellent Truth is maybe a little quirky, but I love the fact that Pratt now is going to be aboard for the 3rd time. I feel like he's probably really got her figured out. And then now we see Dynamic Pricing starts to move to the inside of Excellent Truth. Excellent Truth not traveling as well as the 1, right?
No, it
Like
looks
you
like
could
he
just,
was kind of fighting her out there. It looks like he was
yeah,
kind of, trying to
tries to
keep
pin her
her
in a little bit
together,
here.
and so she could make that run. But the problem was the trip. She was just too
Yeah,
wide, and you see the 1
yeah.
get off the rail,
She was
kind of
giving
kind
up
of
the
ease
ground.
her out, right? And right here when she eased her way out, it was pretty easy from there, and she had all the momentum, and the 8 was just working hard the whole way. That's why I
Yeah.
think this is much more impressive. Plus the fact
I
that
agree. Yeah. It
you
is
get
when you watch it back because she just keeps kind of grinding. And this is like her class that she just wants to go buy those horses to
she's
her
trying.
inside,
Yeah.
even not on her best day.
I think this sets her up for an incredible run. I think she's the best horse in this race. Gets a good post position. Shouldn't have all that trouble. Pratt is the master of positioning. So she's going to be hard to beat, and I hope she's 5-2. To be honest.
Yeah. And I think what, and win or lose, I think what ended up happening, and we'll see where they go off. But you wanted to have Dynamic Pricing last time when she was 10-1 and the big price. And you'll probably get, as you were saying, Excellent Truth to float up more in here. And you'll get a better price on her just because, the 2 of them will be flip flop. Maybe it's like 3-1, 9-2, or 5-2, 4-1 versus what, was 8-5 and 10-1 last time. It's just going to be a much better value in this race for Excellent Truth, the 4, to see if they can get that win 3rd start of the form cycle.
I really thought that the 6 and the 4 were coming out of the best 2 races, even though, again, she feels pretty, just kind of grinded that one out. I don't think that was the best surface for her in the New York, but being on the rail, that's another issue. She can overcome it. She's good enough, but she'll have to prove it to me because I don't want her at even money.
And what it felt like when you look at the form with Dynamic Pricing, 2 of her better races have been on the yielding turf courses.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost wonder, like when we were watching that race and we're seeing that the 8 was kind of struggling a little bit, right? Just not giving the best efficient stride. Maybe it was also a little bit of the ground there that, Excellent Truth didn't love. I know the 2 didn't like that at all. Schwazia was just why didn't like that. Just didn't like it at all. She's better than that. And she might be able to sit a nice trip, kind of saving ground with Saya. She might be a little forgotten about because she ran so poorly last time. And I think people rightly will look at the Jenny Wiley and say, she was probably the 2nd best horse in that race behind Excellent Truth. But she could be a horse that I see like floating way up and could be way higher than she should be as far as just hitting the board in this small field.
Well, from a multi-race bet perspective, you have to think that the whole world, literally the whole world, is going to be
She Feels
leaning
Pretty.
on She Feels Pretty, and this is a good spot to try to beat her.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not unbeatable.
Nope.
But she's been very solid for a long time, and she fires every single time. So I can understand why people would want to do it, but if you're going to try to really kind of lay into this pick 5, 4, whatever. You
You
got to
want to try
beat
to beat
horses
her.
like right. You got to beat horses like this.
And I'll counter my own point in like when you're looking at her form, her speed figures do not overmatch this group, but she does feel like the type of horse who I don't know how many times she's been like fully asked or fully cranked. So I'm really excited to see her in a spot like this against other really nice horses that are maybe a little bit better than what she's been facing, because I'd love to see her and Excellent Truth and Dynamic Pricing all kind of in the mix late and see what it's like for her against these maybe a little bit better horses right now.
Yeah, and she's never broken from the rail before either. I mean, a lot of people like to downplay that stuff. I don't. I really love betting against favorites that get to the rail. It's such a huge disadvantage because you only have one real option, and it's to get out and get position. If you don't do that, you kind of at the mercy of what everybody else does, and it works out sometimes, but I'm willing to bet against it.
So sounds like we both feel like the 4 and the 6 are the good options if you're trying to beat
Yes.
She Feels Pretty, or the ones that we like the most in this spot if you're trying to beat her, with Be Your Best having the pace advantage, with the 4 just maybe getting a better trip overall and perhaps a better turf course that she'll like a little bit more. Third start of the form cycle, and now you get a little more value. So Excellent Truth and Be Your Best are the horses that Barry and I are both looking at. If you want to beat the 1, She Feels Pretty, really nice. Grade 1 winner at 2, 3, and 4 so far. Just awesome. Wins the Natalma as a 2-year-old. She wins the QE2 Cup and the American Oaks as a 3-year-old. And as a 4-year-old, she just won the Grade 1 New York. So Cherie DeVoe has done a fantastic job with her. She's the favorite. She's the one to beat, but she has a pretty tough group to face. I think one of the tougher groups that she's faced in a while. She Feels Pretty. Let's close things out, Barry, with race number 12. As we turn the page, what's going on this week with the Notorious OTB? I saw it. Were you dishing out Presque Isle winners earlier in the week? Is that right? I was like, I saw you all over the place, man. Yeah. Well, talk to us. What's happening? What's happening this week, and where can we find you?
Yeah, we gave out a Horseshoe Indianapolis winner and a Presque Isle winner. So we were kind of on fire this week. I mean, granted, those horses got bet down, but still.
Seeing the ball well.
Yeah, it's always a good boost, especially during the week. But we went over this card actually and did $100 budget podcast on this card. So we did it with Naira Betts, Kaylee Shapiro.
Nice.
So we did that today, and then tomorrow we're on with Matthew DeSantis for a little bit in the morning. But yeah, we're here every day giving out some picks and talking horses. So we have a good time. So you should come join us every once in a while.
Check out the Notorious OTB podcast and follow them all over on the socials. Barry, I actually just started a new podcast. It's really I'm just like the passenger. It's the Off the Track. It's the Off the Track podcast that Daily Racing Form started, and it's a interview series. So there'll be a different guest every time, and it's no like gambling, handicapping of specific races. There'll be some talk about overall philosophy and angles and like how do you learning and stuff like that. But this is more of, hey, how did you get into racing? Tell us your story. Tell us how you got to where you got so far. We have had 2 that have been published, and I just recorded 1 more. So far, we had Jason Beam, was awesome track announcer over at Tampa and Colonial. So Colonial just starting up. We were able to talk with him. Very topical as they just opened their meet. And then Angela Herman joined us. She was one of only I think with Jessica Paquette now 3 or 4 women that have called races in North America.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
Definitely had that done a long time ago.
There was one in the 60s, and then Angela, when she had the job, she filled in, right? And then she had the job at Golden Gate. She talks to us about what that was like, ups, downs. Did she really like it? It wasn't really, she's more of a gambler, right? She's more of a handicapper. So she wanted to take a shot. Great opportunity. Didn't really love it. With both of those chats, what I thought were interesting for me is talking about like how everything isn't perfect. There's some ups and some downs. It's a struggle. And that's what it's like in horse racing. How many times we have a bad day with the races,
Oh man, it's a grind, especially
Jeez.
guys like us that, play regularly.
Often.
It's just you got to build up thick skin
Yeah. And
from losing all the time and bad beats, things like that. I try to keep it really even. I do get excited when I do win, but I just know losing is a part of the game, and you're going to be wrong more often than you're not. But when you win, make them pay.
yeah, so I've had such a blast chatting with
Yeah,
Jason
those
and
are
with
great
Angela.
episodes. They were great episodes. I had a really good time watching both of those. I'm excited for the rest of the series.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. So anyone who wants to check those out, you can on the DRF YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts now. So if you're on like Amazon, Spotify, Apple, we have the DRF Off the Track podcast all over. Next week coming up, right, to talk a little bit about the Haskell and the history of the Haskell, and then all the great horses that he's called the last few years. Matt Dinnerman, the voice of Monmouth and Oaklawn Park. So just recorded that chat with Matt, and that interview is going to drop and release next Monday. That's how the podcast will release. So got some of our plugs in, Barry. Now let's finish things up and let's see if we can pick a winner to close out this card at Saratoga on Saturday. 5.5 furlong turf sprint. These are 3-year-old fillies and mares. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, 5.5 on the turf course. Who do you want to start with in this one, race number 12?
This might surprise you a little bit, but I kind of zeroed in on the 7 Fast Market.
Okay.
I think, usually I don't like playing horses with more starts than everybody else, but I think this horse's resume kind of tells a little story. You see how they put this horse on the grass in February.
Yep.
And the horse ran pretty good going longer.
Yep.
And there's also some pedigree there. Where there's some precociousness. Then they put this horse at Tampa going 6 on the dirt, and I'm fairly certain that was Tampa Derby Day. Ran big, and in fact, I bet against this horse that day, and this horse surprised me.
Yep, it was Tampa Derby Day.
Then they put this horse in the Appalachian, which was,
just 80-1. He's 80-1, right?
80-1, but didn't run all that poorly.
And look at how strong the race was, too, with Nitrogen, Vixen, and Fion. Just some really, really nice fillies here.
Comes back, doesn't get the preferred surface, runs on the slot, probably needed the race anyway. Pointing towards Saratoga to run back on the turf. It makes a lot of sense. And this horse probably won't need the lead, which is another feather in their cap, because I think this is going to be a dash up front, and there's going
especially
to be
with Joel, he'll probably take her back a little bit and be able to finish
and make that one run. And I think this horse is good money at 10-1. Not much form to go off, and honestly, not much pedigree between a lot of these horses. I mean, the 3 Divine Spirit, I don't think the Dam ran or any other siblings ran. And this horse 7-2.
Right? She's just a tough read. I know, going long, first time out. The 4, her debut was good. Her second start was okay. I actually really preferred the 6 out of that race. I thought Girls Rocks I liked way more. And when you're talking about telling stories, right? I think the same thing can be said with Girls Rocks. So debuts, loses in the debut in a strong race to this Cherie DeVoe Ahava. That's the Vava sibling. And she ran second in the Fairground Oaks to Good Cheer. She just got injured, so we haven't seen her race since. She got backed up a little bit. Second place finisher that day, came back to win their next start with a 79 buyer, and then ran second against winners following that with an 83 buyer, so was in really good form at that time. And then looking at Girls Rocks' second start, flash speed, may not have liked the course that day. It was a good turf. It was a good course over at Keeneland, was flashing some speed, but that race actually has come back live as well when you had the second place finisher, Defiant Lass, come back to win their next start. Roja is actually a horse who's entered in a stakes race this weekend, just came out of being the runner-up in the Stormy Blues. I think is entered on Sunday at Saratoga in a turf sprint. So looking at those races, strong races, may not have liked the good going in the ground over on the main track on April the 11th. Then back to the turf. May the 9th, loses to a horse named Maytown. This horse just came back and won the P-Patch Stakes over the weekend at Ellis Park, nailed me with Pondering, and I got to give it up to my partner, Ashley Mayu. She had Maytown. I had Pondering. Pondering takes the lead, and she just runs me down late with Maytown.
Right by, yeah.
But shout out to Ashley. Great handicapping there. 3 next out winners in this race. I'm Mo Joke. Came back to win on the turf, earned a 75 buyer. Even Salty Senorita, who was in there, came back to win the next start at Laurel in a race off the turf. I just think this horse is coming out of some really nice races. And then the last one, Barry, on June the 7th, you could see in her first few races, she had been showing speed. June 7th, she's 8th early on. She's in between horses. She's about 5 lengths off. She moves inside. She has to wait. She moves through traffic. And then she's getting pushed in by the eventual winner. That's I'm Mo Joke, who comes back and beats her. So she didn't get the best trip at all in that race. I thought she ran really well to show us that she can pass horses if need be. I think she just fits really well in this group. It's funny, of the horses that you mentioned, I had the 6 was my top pick, and the 7 Fast Market I had third. So I was completely in agreement with you on the 7, and I don't really know what to do with the first-time starter for Brown.
Yeah, I'm going to lean as a bet against in this first start and bet this horse back after this race. That's probably going to be my plan. I'm going to keep an eye on that one because this horse is going to show up later in the meet. Regalton, the one horse, is very interesting to me. I don't love the post position, obviously, but I think in races like this, things get crazy and Louis Size can work out a trip, and this horse didn't run all that poorly on the synthetic, and I think the turf, getting to the turf, is probably better off and should move up a little bit.
And the horse that ended up winning, the horse that beat Regleton, you actually saw over at Indy on the 4th of July there. Luna Luska, who just won, showed speed. She's won 3 in a row and now a stakes winner. So Regalton, one that Barry mentions, I'm probably going to throw in the 10, Panache. I know she hasn't raced since November, but that was 2-year-old season. Look at some of those horses she faced in some of the races she comes out of. That first start, she's in there with Eclatant, who is a graded stakes winner. She wins the Forward Gal. She's in there with Lacara, who is a grade 1 winner, the Acorn. You'll Be Back and Bonnie File were both in there. Those horses are both really nice. You'll Be Back is multiple stakes place. Bonnie File came back in the next start, won at Colonial. So you're looking and just kind of comparing. Panache comes out of strong races. Second start at Saratoga, going longer. It's probably too far. Then cuts back to sprints, and the 2 sprints are good. Actually stumbled on September the 19th, still ran really well, and then lost to Love Cervere. You and I like this horse. We've played Love Cervere a bit, who's now won back-to-back stakes races and is a really good turf sprinter. So I feel like in some pick 4s and 5s that I'm closing, I'm going to throw the 10 in, Panache too, who should be a fair price. The wide trip concerns me a little bit, but there is some probably development and some growth and maturity from this horse from 2 to 3. DeVoe can certainly get him ready to fire. Feels like the type of horse that they were probably pointing for a race at Saratoga like this, and cutting back to 5.5. I don't mind being as wide as much because this horse, I think, can sit a little bit wide and still finish.
Yeah, very interesting. I don't know what kind of trip. That was really my issue.
Trip.
I think the horse is very talented. I wish this horse was in a little bit more because I don't know. It seems like they're going to try to push the pace a little bit and get position up in front of everybody else, or try to, kind of just work out some sort of trip. And it's going to be hard, but you never know in races like this because these horses haven't run very much and they'll run in spots and it'll get crazy. So I can definitely see a horse like Panache that could win it. It's just also the matter of the price. I think the price is probably going to get bet a little bit, and I wouldn't want to take less than 6 to 1.
I completely agree. I thought that was my 5, 6 to 1 was my line. Certainly wouldn't want to take less than that price. The other one that I was kind of hemming and hawing with was the 9. Not sure what to do with this horse whose debut was supposed to be on the turf. Race comes off the grass. We can take a look from a pedigree standpoint. What's cool about the DRF formulator, Barry mentions it all the time too. You can click right on the dam and see that this horse's dam was solid on the grass, was a winner on the grass, and actually finished second and third in a couple stakes races on the turf. So has a little turf there. You see Grit and Curiosity. One of these horses' direct siblings was a winner on the grass. Multiple winner on the turf there. So just a little bit from the dam side with the direct sibling and the dam. Any thoughts about the 9?
The running was encouraging.
Yeah.
Usually horses improve second time out or come close to it. Puts that horse right there. So it wouldn't surprise me if this horse runs well and probably would get overlooked just based on connections and rider.
I was going to say Blinker's coming on, and Katie Davis is one of those riders. As a bettor, I love betting because she doesn't get bet a lot, and she gives you a great run for your money for every position, right? If you're betting an exacta, try, or super, you're not worried about her not trying for third and fourth. She just always gives you a really good run for your money. Blinker's coming on for Gellhorn, who is the 9 at 6-1 in here. But I like the 6, Girls Rock. Barry starts with mentioned the 1, Regalton, started with the 7, Fast Market as a major player. I'm absolutely using Fast Market as well. Wasn't sure really what to do with the 3 and the 4, who could take a good amount of money in this race. I do want to include the 10, Panache, in some spots. Barry, I like this sequence. It's a fun pick 5. We took a look at, you have a couple races, bigger fields that are a little more wide open. And then in the graded stakes, the Diana, not as big of a field, but real quality in there.
Yeah, this is a tough sequence. Anybody going after this pick 5, if you hit it, you probably earned it.
Barry, I'm excited about what the next couple months are going to look like for us. A lot of Saratoga, a lot of Del Mar. Next week, even Haskell, I believe, is the 19th, right? So, yeah, that'll be they always have a really nice Haskell day where you have a couple, 4 or 5 of those graded stakes races and the good pick 4, pick 5 sequence too. So we'll be taking a look at that one as well. And you're making the trip up to Saratoga. Let everybody know, when are you heading up?
I am heading up on Tuesday. Chuck Simon's Celebration of Life is that night at the Racing Hall of Fame. And then on Wednesday, there's a memorial race for Chuck. I believe it's the 3rd race on the card, so I'll be there for that. And we'll celebrate him those first 2 days. Headed over to Boston for a little bit to go back to my old neighborhood, and then coming back for the weekend. So Haskell Day, I'll be at Saratoga Coaching Club. American Oaks is that day. I think there's 3 stakes on that card, so definitely going to get a lot of racing in.
Couple weeks and you're all over the place, from Indy back to Florida, up to New York to Boston, back.
Wolfie calls me the benevolent time traveler. So
there you go.
I'm fitting that bill.
I agree with that. It's a good description for my good friend Barry Spears. Make sure to give him a follow. Barry, let everybody know again, Twitter, if they want to follow you on X and check you out over there.
I am on X as @Urban Handicapper. That's URBN Handicapper. I'm there all the time talking horses, talking everything. So we have a good time on X. So come on over.
Make sure, if you're checking this out on the YouTube channel, subscribe there. Leave us a comment. Let us know any of these races. Do you agree with us? Are there horses that you like that we didn't talk about or that you want to let us know and put on our radar? Always love hearing from you. Make sure to follow Daily Racing Form on X. You can check them out on Facebook too. Barry's helping us out with the Blue Sky stuff over there. If you're on Blue Sky, we're posting over there as well. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Good luck playing the races. Let's have my friend Joey Cleveland with that call to post as we say goodbye.